second session of the seminar. It's a great pleasure to invite Her Excellency Datin Paduka Sri Rosmah Mansor, wife of the Prime Minister and patron of the International Seminar on Autism 2014, to deliver her keynote address. Please welcome Her Excellency Datin Paduka Sri.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. And a very good morning to all of you. Excellencies, First Ladies from Republic of Sudan, Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, Kyrgyz Republic, Republic of Albania, and Kingdom of Morocco. Excellencies, High Commissioners, Ambassadors and wives, distinguished delegates and speakers, honored guests, members of the media, members of Bhakti, ladies and gentlemen. Autism Spectrum Disorder, or ASD. Please settle down because you are distracting my concentration. I got a good excuse. Tolong tutup pintu tu boleh tak? Depan tu. Sebab saya nampak orang lalu lalang, susah. I got a very poor concentrating power. I got that disorder. Tolong tutup. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Autism Spectrum Disorder, or ASD, is a term that is unfamiliar in many societies, let alone being understood. It is even unheard of in some societies. And this lack of awareness has led to misperceptions about the disorder and intolerance of people living with autism. This is unfortunate because autism is not a tragedy, as articulated by a man who has lived with autism for 21 years. Allow me to quote him. It's been a long struggle. I'm 21 now, and my life is pretty normal, with the occasional speed bump. I still have my days where it all resurfaces, but give me a moment or two and it's all good. I don't like to be in large crowds too much, and at times I'm a little uneasy meeting new people, but it falls right into place easily. To him, ladies and gentlemen, autism is not a disability, but simply a different way of thinking for most everyone else. Ignorance, on the other hand, is the real tragedy, as sadly reflected in the words of a girl with autism. Needless to say, I was misunderstood by neighbor kids and at times laughed at. Social situations with them were most often awkward. A mother of a girl with autism said, she knows she's different. Kids at school let her know every day she has been cyber-bullied and has suffered from depression. She has cried many times and asked, why did God do this to me? Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, people who do not understand autism often misconstrue it as mental illness, learning disability, or unruly behavior. And they often see the children as selfish, slow, distant, and odd. They do not understand that those with ASD have difficulties with communication and find social contact disturbing. Lacking the social instincts of caring and sharing, not talking and playing or making friends, these children are lonely and never certain of what is happening around them. They cannot make choices or express themselves. And more often than not, children with ASD are left alone in the corner to indulge in self-stimulatory behavior, which is often repetitive. The strain of living with autism in a world that's largely ignorant of the problems leads to higher levels of anxiety, depression, as well as suicide. Studies on individuals with autism highlight the enormous struggle that they have to face daily in trying to lead a meaningful and productive life. Accessing appropriate public education and post-high school is often difficult, while gaining employment is almost impossible in most countries. Lack of awareness is a very serious issue. Advanced as we are, compared to the ancient world of mysticism, there are still societies, particularly in the developing world, see autism as bad karma for the past wrongdoings of either the individuals themselves, their parents, or their families. It is no wonder that children with autism are often ostracized in the misconception that the disorder could spread to them and their children. While in certain countries, the stigma of autism is so intense that many families of children with developmental delays live in denial and will intentionally avoid the diagnosis of ASD, while in some societies, families have to constantly struggle with negative associations and prejudices when the children's behavior are perceived as poor parenting and even child endangerment. Cultural practices in some societies also make early diagnosis difficult. In societies which discourage eye contact, children with ASD who are lacking in eye contact and have difficulty in speaking are diagnosed late. In some societies, the belief that a male child begins speaking at a later age than girls, unfortunately, also contributes to the late detection of such disorder. This is predominantly more common in boys than girls. In Malaysia, late development of speech is tolerated as berat mulut, or literally translated as heavy mouth. It's not the lips are heavy, but they speak at a later stage or a later age, so they say heavy mouth. Thus, children with ASD may be missed early. Late or poor detection due to lack of awareness has resulted in significantly low prevalence of, particularly in developing countries. A pilot study using standardized methodology and instruments conducted by the University of Hong Kong in collaboration with the University of Cambridge Autism Research Center and Cambridge Institute of Public Health suggests that autism in China is currently underdiagnosed. I'm not singling China. We are also suffering from the same problem. The same is probably true in Malaysia. The last study conducted by the Ministry of Health in 2004 revealed a rate of 1 case in every 600 births. Epidemiological studies using more advanced and validated techniques would probably reveal rates more comparable to Western countries. The lower prevalence rate of autism in Malaysia and the other developing countries does not mean the problem is any less serious. Ignorance is definitely not a bliss. As Aldous Huxley, author of the book Brave New World, said, facts do not cease to exist just because they are ignored. So I must tell you this secret. Diversion. People have settled down, so I can tell a few jokes. This morning, my husband asked me, what's the rate of autism in Malaysia? I hesitated. He said, do you know? Because you are the one who's really interested in autism. I said, darling, the latest statistic we got is 2004. Then he said, what are the ministries doing? I don't know, you ask them. So, I'm not criticizing, but that's the reality, that the latest data that we've got on autism in Malaysia is 2004. So you better do something about it quickly before the Prime Minister asks you. You should thank me for ticking you. On the contrary, low detection because of lack of awareness is a tragedy not only for the child with autism, but also the family, country, and the world at large. It is preventing many children from receiving early intervention, which has been proven to help them develop optimally. As Goethe said, there is nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. A parent of a child with autism once said, "I thought I would have to teach my son about the world. It turns out I have to teach the world about my child." It is my hope that the seminar will provide a better understanding and acceptance of persons with autism. In turn, it will reduce misinformation and stigma and help in improving the outlook, perception, attitude, and treatment for them. As Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, the cure for ignorance is to question. So ladies and gentlemen, please question after this, okay? I think you can even question the first ladies, I'm sure. Ladies and gentlemen, overcoming ignorance is imperative because ASD is the fastest growing developmental disorder today. Globally, there has been a 20 to 30-fold increase in the prevalence of autism since the first population studies were conducted in Europe in the late 1960s and 70s. It is estimated that the prevalence rate of autism in Europe and USA now is 1% of their population. In countries where awareness is higher, detection and reporting are much improved, thus facilitating better planning and implementation. And for instance, in the United States, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, reported in March 2014 a 30% increase in the prevalence of autism over a period of 2 years. Alarms were raised about a possible public health crisis. The prevalence rose from 1 in 88 children in 2012 to 1 in 68 children in March 2014. There are now calls for a national plan of action to address urgent and long-term public health needs of ASD. In the United Kingdom, the prevalence rate is 1 case for every 66 births, and a 56% increase of children with autism has been reported in the last 5 years. More worrying is the prevalence rate of 1 in every 38 children in South Korea. The increase in the prevalence of ASD cannot be ignored. However, it is not just about numbers, but the will to look for the answers as well as fulfilling the needs of the people behind the numbers. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, William Hazlitt, the famed English writer of humanistic essays, once said, "Prejudice is the child of ignorance." In Jane Eyre, Charlotte Bronte wrote that prejudices are most difficult to eradicate from the heart, whose soil has never been loosened or fertilized by education. They grow there, firm as weeds among stones. Therefore, we choose to continue being ignorant about autism. The consequences is extremely tragic. We should learn to use all the research findings and good practices from around the world to improve the quality of life for people living with autism throughout their lifespan. We must not forget that autism is a lifelong condition. With the increasing trend in prevalence, we can anticipate a larger number of adults with autism. As they move on the spectrum of major life phases, the necessary support and treatment also change. Research shows that intervention before the age 3 years can bring about transformative outcomes and can reduce lifetime costs by 2/3. In the second phase, parents and caregivers should be helped to build education and treatment programs to enable children and adolescents to reach their fullest potential. In the third phase, we should ensure that every adult with autism has access to services and supports that maximize independence and secure the highest quality of life. The quality of life depends not only upon the foundation that is provided in childhood, but also on ongoing support that are specific to the educational, medical, social, recreational, and employment needs of the individual. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, research on the brain shows the earlier the intervention, the better the outcome will be. If we are going to make a direct and meaningful impact in the lives of children with ASD, reducing the average age of diagnosis must be a priority as we move forward. From my visits to several centers for children with autism, I observed that early intervention encompasses a comprehensive range of services, which include early identification and diagnosis, program planning and service delivery, as well as the evaluation of the effectiveness of these services. Support and education for families are integral to the early intervention program. As I said before, parenting a child with autism is not an easy task, and many experience high levels of stress, particularly when they are accused of being the cause of their children's predicament or labeled as bad parents for not seeking services or hiding their children due to shame or embarrassment. Research reveals that the rate of divorce is 24% amongst parents of children with ASD. And this is significantly higher than the 14% in couples that do not have children with autism. Spouses who are left to take care of the child after cracks in the marriage appear rise to the challenges in many ways. And I know of one mother, a chartered accountant, who gave up her career to become director of a center for children with autism. Another went through a harrowing experience when she and her child were abandoned by a totally irresponsible husband who was not, I'm not saying you all men, it happens in other countries, who was not willing to work on keeping the marriage together for the sake of their child. Already overwhelmed by feelings of grief, anger, and frustration, she was exhausted trying to find affordable accommodation and work that is flexible enough to suit her needs to take care of her child. For families, there is a continuous struggle in trying to understand autism and how to access services and support for their children. Preparing and empowering them for the challenges that are in store will make a tremendous difference to all involved, including parents, siblings, grandparents, extended families, friends, and society as a whole. Parents should be acknowledged as experts on their own children, as they are the ones who spend most of the time with them. Empowered parents will be able to plan a better future for their own children. The children will grow up with the best care possible as parents understand autism better and know where to get assistance. There are many inspiring and heartwarming stories told by devoted and courageous parents who find greater strength and love in their marriage when they embrace the differences that make their child that much more special. In the long run, empowering parents means less government spending for services on autism. This one my husband likes. Depending on the severity, the cost of providing care for each person with autism through his or her lifespan in the United States ranges from 1.4 million to 2.3 million USD. An estimation by Autism Speaks puts the total cost to the United States at a staggering 126 billion USD per year in providing services and support for individuals with autism. In the United Kingdom, the lifetime cost of providing care for each person ranges from £917,000 to £1.5 million, totaling about £34 billion per year to the country. We have yet to carry out similar research on the economic costs in Malaysia. I have no doubt at all, judging from the experience of the United States and the United Kingdom, that the cost will be similarly high. Looking at the economic costs, the difficulties faced by individuals with autism and their families are even worse in the third world countries, where other problems such as infectious diseases and malnutrition take precedence. And in these countries, providing basic healthcare and education for normal children is already a heavy burden. In war-torn countries and conflict situations, providing healthcare and special education for those with disabilities such as autism is a low priority. And to achieve success at all stages, intervention must be part of a national plan that ensures every family from every community has access to quality, affordable healthcare, treatment, and services across the lifespan of the person with autism. Autism knows no racial, ethnic, or socio-economic boundaries, and no effort should be spared to reduce disparities in awareness and access to care. A comprehensive strategy must include inputs from the research community, policymakers, educators, and caregivers to cover a wider range of issues. These include the training of skilled personnel, such as psychiatrists, psychologists, pediatricians, therapists, and early interventionists, as well as developing policies on insurance, tax exemptions, tax incentives, and funding for research and evidence-based treatment. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, my interest in autism came about when I visited a center for children with autism in Malaysia in 2012, managed by a non-profit organization. And I could see their good intentions to give the best to the children, and I truly commend their efforts. However, I realized that they had insufficient resources and facilities. Learning environment at the center was not conducive to the children's development. The facilities were inadequate compared to centers such as the Innova Center in San Francisco and Tree House in London that I had visited. And it is for this very reason I am extremely determined to set up a center that can provide them with the best and conducive learning in environment, inshallah. Whatever the Prime Minister had declared this morning, announced this morning, I didn't know anything, okay? I didn't whisper to him, I didn't say anything. It is out of his, gesture, and maybe part of his transformation program. I also realized that many children with autism are not receiving appropriate public education and will be left behind even if they have high cognitive abilities in mathematics and science and exceptional talents in the performing and visual arts. They are also deprived of comprehensive early detection services. Of the estimated 13,500 children with ASD, only 2,600 are enrolled in government special education schools or in the integrated and inclusive programs of the mainstream in primary and secondary schools. The majority of them attend community centers for children with special needs operated by the Social Welfare Department of the Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development. Others attend centers belonging to non-profit organizations or private enterprises which are beyond the means of ordinary families. The Malaysian National Autism Society reports an increased intake by 30% in their center, and the waiting list keeps getting longer and longer. Learning from the experience of others, we decided to establish a center which provides early intervention to help children with ASD develop their fullest potential and to prepare them for mainstream primary school education. Work on the Autism Center has started in Kuala Lumpur with generous funding from the government amounting to about $9 million. Here I would like to thank the government. It is expected to be ready and operational in 2015. My heartfelt gratitude goes to the Prime Minister, His Excellency Datuk Sri Najib Tun Abdul Razak, whom I couldn't share the rostrum with, for the staunch and unwavering support that he has given to this project and to this international seminar. In planning for the center, we involved not only professionals but also parents because of their dedication and willingness to commit their time and energy for the center. The demand from parents has been tremendous, ladies and gentlemen. Since the center will start as a pilot project, we will have to limit the numbers. When proven to be successful, we will roll out the initiative to other states in the country, inshallah. This center will be known as Permata Kurnia. Permata literally means jewel, signifying that children are the jewels of the nation. While Kurnia means a special gift. We chose the word Kurnia because these children are special gifts for us to accept them as they are and to nurture them to the best that we can. We have the power to unlock the potential and nurture them into wonderful, productive citizens who contribute their strengths to society. The Permata Kurnia is part of the Permata program that I had initiated 6 years ago. The Permata program is a multi-pronged approach aimed at giving children a head start in life through quality early childhood education and care, as well as identifying and nurturing the different talents, excuse me, talents with the optimum potential. In line with the Convention on the Rights of a Child, we view all children as precious, and no children should be left behind, especially in education. Thank you. Children are the most valuable asset to the country. Their holistic development is vital to the growth and productive performance of a nation. A multi-pronged approach in education and intervention services will, in the long run, help to alleviate future health problems and the many social ills plaguing today's youth. Excuse me. The Permata Kurnia Center will provide 3 types of programs. The first is for 150 children with mild autism aged between 4 and 6 years. And each child will be assessed on his strengths and needs. An individual education plan or IEP is then drawn up to meet the child's learning objectives. The progress of the child will be continuously monitored and documented. Parents form an integral part of the IEP team, and their inputs and decision-making is crucial. The second program is for another 150 children aged 2 to 4 years who manifest early signs of autism. They will attend 3-hour intervention session per week for 40 weeks with their parents or guardians. An individual family plan is drawn up for each child, targeting his or her learning needs. I water now. Oh, sorry. Excuse me, I slept at 4 o'clock. The plan is to be drawn up for each child, targeting his or her learning needs, and provides parents with caregiving techniques that can be applied at home. With this plan, parents will be empowered to give the best care for their children and maintain the well-being of the family, including a harmonious marital relationship. The third program is community awareness and training programs. The center intends to play an active role in educating the public and enhancing the sensitivity of the community towards supporting the needs of individuals with autism as well as the needs of their families. We are confident that as the level of awareness grows, the community will band together to tackle the issue of autism with better acceptance of these children and their families by society. Workshops and short courses will also be conducted for educators, therapists, parents, and the public on various aspects of autism. The curriculum will take into account the multilingual and multicultural aspects of our society. Modules to train teachers and therapists are being developed and will also encompass parental education and support. We aim to equip teachers with the best knowledge and skills so that all children will benefit from the establishment of the center, and not only those enrolled in Permata Kurnia. Autism Speaks of New York, who has vast experience and networking in this area, has agreed to collaborate to ensure that our approach is evidence-based and in line with good international practices and quality standards. We stress quality because anything worth doing should be done right from the very start. To quote Mahatma Gandhi, it is the quality of our work which will please God and not the quantity. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, history suggests that many individuals whom we would today diagnose as autistic have contributed profoundly to our art, mathematics, science, and literature. Einstein is believed to be one of them, and another example is Dr. Temple Grandin, Assistant Professor of Animal Science at Colorado State University. She was almost institutionalized during her childhood. She is credited for thinking in pictures. Another well-known person with autism is international best-selling author Donna Williams, who also offers counsel to parents and people with autism. And closer to home is Penang-born Delwin Chia Win Lung, aged 9 years, who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 5. He is a talented artist with a collection of more than 50, mostly black and white artwork of animals, jungle scenes, cowboys, cartoon characters, and superheroes with themes far beyond his age. His talent has been recognized by the internationally renowned organization Stroke of Genius in New York, which has only 50 SAVA members worldwide. Therefore, the ultimate goal of parents, we must congratulate him. Therefore, the ultimate goal of parents, educators, and professionals who interact with children with autism is to unlock their potential to become self-reliant, fully integrated, contributing members of society. No talent will be wasted, and some with exceptional abilities will flourish. We have the power to unlock this potential by implementing an effectively structured intervention that takes the development of the whole child into account, and children with ASD can grow beyond their limitations and develop into productive citizens. All we have to do is see through those limitations and view them as the bright kids that they really are. We should not allow them to be labeled and restricted by their diagnosis. As Chia Guan Kyong, father of Delwin, said during his son's art exhibition, "I don't consider autism a major handicap which parents should be ashamed of. With this art exhibition, I hope to motivate parents to accept their child with autism and help the child to develop and grow in a normal environment. It will bring awareness to the public that a child with autism is not a liability, but an asset to society as well as to the country." As I said earlier, this is very much in line with the nation transformation agenda of optimizing the human capital development in our beloved country, Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, in compassion lies the world's true strength, said Gautama Buddha. We may have to work harder, but let us encourage their strengths, improve their weaknesses, and be proud of their successes, the way we would with any child. That is our primary goal. As Confucius said, it does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. Let me end by urging all of you to take advantage of the seminar to share your experiences, exchange ideas, fostering closer relationships, and creating new partnerships in exploring innovative possibilities in dealing with this challenging and complex issue of autism. It is my sincere hope that the seminar will yield useful information that will benefit the development of the Permata Kunia Center and the thousands of children with autism and their families, as well as provide answers that will lead to greater societal acceptance of people with autism. We should not look at ignorance in a pejorative way, but rather as a chance to grow in knowledge because that is how science advances. As Benjamin Franklin said, being ignorant is not so much a shame as being unwilling to learn. So all the best in your deliberations for the next 2 days. Thank you. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Her Excellency Datin Paduka Sri.